What's up, BookTube? My name's Matt and welcome to my channel where we discuss everything horror from the real to the unreal. I'm hitting the ground running today with my review of Hanna Jameson's The Last. The Last is a book about historian Jon Keller who travels to Switzerland for a conference, and when he's there, a nuclear war breaks out and the world as we know it ends. The remaining 20 or so people left in the hotel are struggling to survive. It is in that environment that one of them makes a grisly discovery in one of the water tanks on the roof of the hotel. It is a premise that feels, it's billed as like Agatha Christie meets Stephen King, but I never felt it was particularly Agatha Christie-like. I thought it was always leaning more towards the Stephen King. It's very dystopian. It's very concerned with the emotional nature of how the end of the world affects you and how the end of the world affects us. And I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a fantastic book. I thought it was the way that the Jameson writes is incredibly sort of believable. She writes things like you could tell she's thoroughly researched everything. You could tell that that this is a plausible sort of end of the world scenario, a worryingly plausible end of the world scenario. She peppers in politics into it in a really nice, interesting way, subtly hinting at the fact that she was inspired by today and today's political climate, in particular today's American political climate, but she never name drops any world leaders in the book. I'll let you infer what world leaders I'm talking about. But she never names drops anyone, which really, I think, helps to add a timeless quality to the book. I can imagine somewhere along the line the conscious decision was made to exclude names from the book to ensure that the book remains timeless. And I can see that it having that effect on the book. Obviously, I'm going to try and be as spoiler-free in this review because I would like to encourage you to go read the book, go pick the book up. It has only just been released about a month or so ago. It is a very easy to read book. That's the benefit of the way she writes, is she's not particularly interested in excessive description. She's more keen on really delving to the root of these themes that she's discussing, themes of loss, isolation, grief, and themes of dystopia, which I think she touches on really well in a really interesting and quite unique way. There's a passage early on in the book where she talks about sort of memory and how faded it becomes over time and how we have to keep telling ourselves these stories. And that sort of feeds back into the way the book is written. It's a first-person account as written by Jon Keller, almost a historian's viewpoint of what has happened. And there's an interesting part in the book, again, trying not to spoil it at all, but there's an interesting part in the book where you will call into question the validity of what Jon is saying and try and see if you believe or you agree with what he's saying. So there's a lot to be sort of unpacked there. It's very scary at times. There are some moments in the book, I tweeted about one of them, there are some moments in the book where it genuinely kept me up late at night, and I think that's an extraordinary feat, and it takes a lot to scare me. But there was something about this one particular story in the book. I'll leave it for you to discover. But there's a ghost story in the book. There are a couple of potential ghost stories in the book, but there's one in particular that happens fairly early on that I thought was absolutely terrifying. The supporting cast around Jon are very well fleshed out. There's a particular character called Tommy, which I thought was extraordinarily well done. She's written in a really subtle way, I think, and there's a sense of pathos to her and humanity to her, despite the fact that she seems very cold and very utilitarian at times, and she does butt heads with a lot of people in the hotel and rub them up the wrong way. Again, probably my favourite character in the novel, actually, Tommy. I thought she was very complex and layered, and Jameson does a great job of writing her to make her into something more than just your typical sort of anti-hero, I would say. And then there's Nathan and Adam, which are the two other characters that sort of exist within, and Dylan as well. These are three other characters that exist within the orbit of our protagonist, Jon, and they are in themselves very interesting characters. And the way that Jameson writes the book is she makes a point, because of his line of work. Jon Keller knows that he needs to get the stories of the lives of these people in the hotel. So you do get, by virtue of the premise of the novel, a lot of information about every one of the supporting characters. And sometimes a lot of authors mistake backstory for like development of a character, or mistake backstory for actually being able to understand a character's emotionality, if emotionality is even a word. I think what Jameson actually does really well is she does give us a lot of backstory, but the backstory is meaningful. It's meaningful to the plot. It works in multiple levels. It's meaningful to the character. It helps you understand, why they're there. And what you get is this really immediate and kind of unsettling sense of foreboding that builds throughout the novel. And almost this sense of destiny, whether or not you wonder whether the 20 people that are in that hotel, and you do come to know every one of them by the end of the book, and their stories, and you do come to know their names. There's not many books you can remember 20 character names, but I could probably rattle them all off for you now if I needed to. Because she builds this sense of destiny around these 20 characters, 20 or so characters, that makes you feel like they were meant to be there. At times it made me feel like I was watching Lost, the TV show Lost. It's that kind of tone at times, and I absolutely loved it. I thought the book, it's a beautiful book unto itself. I can see that there might be room for a sequel. I hope there isn't one, kind of. I kind of want to spend more time with Tommy and Jon, if I'm being honest, because the way the book ends is very much almost a cliffhanger. I really would like to spend more time with those two characters. I almost don't want a sequel because they're such a nice, unique, perfect sort of little dome of a world that I loved. There's so much great stuff I could say about the book, but I really don't want to spoil it, because reading it cold is probably the best advice I could give you. So go out to your local bookshop, support local bookshops, pick up a copy of The Last, give it a read, and let me know in the comments below what you think. Remember to, if you enjoy what I'm doing here, then please give us a subscribe and a like, and let me know what you think I've done poorly, well, or just kind of meh in this video, because I'm learning, hitting the ground running here, so I'd like to know what I can do better. And also, if you've got any ideas for any future things you'd like to see, please let me know down below. Thank you very much for watching, and remember to stay reading.